Kevin Costner, riding high on 90s fame, nearly derailed Robin Hood folklore with his portrayal in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. In 1991, Costner entered Sherwood Forest, hilariously botching a British accent. "The sheriff calls us outlaws," he mumbled, unable to keep pace with the royal British cast around him, including Alan Rickman. Despite Costner's chaotic accent, talents like Morgan Freeman injected some vitality, yet still, the New York Times labeled this adaptation as a lackluster debacle. Demi Moore's Striptease redefines the phrase miscalculated risk. It temporarily cooled down her red-hot 1990s trajectory, consigning her to the Las Vegas strip club's dark recesses. Moore's performance seemed confused at times, failing to ignite the screen, while Burt Reynolds' sleazy congressman never seemed fit for office. Flawed plot points aside, critics savored Moore's hefty paycheck, as her character misadventures elicited groans. At least, Moore's bank balance and industry gender pay gap benefited from this cinematic clunker. In the realm of 90s erotic thrillers, Sharon Stone's Sliver drifts into forgettable territory. Sandwiched between her hits Basic Instinct and Casino, this formulaic drama is a mix of lust and lethal attraction, but light on substance. The on-screen chemistry is forced, with Stone and Baldwin managing only awkwardness. Critic Marguerite Baumgarten nailed it, highlighting the film's hollow core, a character black hole with zero tension or thrill. At least it managed more than others on this list, barely enticing 21% approval from critics. With Biodome, Pauly Shore's supposed charm from MTV evaporated. This 1996 entry marks a comedic venture that goes nowhere, seeing Shore and Baldwin groping for humor in a one-year locked experimental habitat. At best, it's a relief the experiment doesn't exceed 90 minutes. Despite 4% of critics daring a positive word, Grant Watson targeted the film's failing punchlines and unlikable lead antics. In brief, Biodome is a misfire that makes the 90s comedy scene dim. Rocky fans cringed when Sylvester Stallone dared to court comedy. "Stop, or my mom will shoot" was his misfire, a wooden attempted transition from punch-throwing heroics to forced humor. With Oscar bombing earlier, Stallone hoped for redemption, only to delve deeper into desperate delivery. Roger Ebert labeled it starkly moronic, barely mustering half a star. The Razzies circled, handing Stallone a trophy for wooden performances, while even the star joined audiences lamenting its existence years later. Black belt dud Steven Seagal lands predictably with On Deadly Ground. In 1995, his generic action didn't just bomb, it sank, plagued with Razzies, highlighting poor execution. As both star and director, Seagal delivered ridiculous cautionary allegories against environmental doom amidst laughably reckless oil rig escapades. Critic Nick Rogers calls out this hubris-ridden jaunt as nonsensical. Seagal supposedly bet his career could transform anyone into a star. Hollywood found his optimism misplaced, leading to a predictable disaster. Enter the Wild Wild West mess, where Will Smith gets entangled in CGI chaos. Avoiding a public takedown thanks to the film's inept direction, Smith's charming swagger gave way under the weight of special effects. Despite his best efforts, the performance wheezed rather than wowed. Rotten Tomatoes handed a scathing 16% approval, while Golden Raspberry voters spared him only to ridicule his infamous hip-hop theme. Smith himself admits it haunts his career. In 1990's The Adventures of Ford Fairlane, Andrew Dice Clay played a thinly veiled version of his own insufferable comedy persona, a glaring, foul-mouthed detective venture that stunk up screens. Overshadowed by his crass shtick, the film tanked hard, snatching Razzies along the way. Critic Roger Ebert noted the awkwardness. Audiences in a theater found themselves unable to embrace Clay's attempt at cinema. Unsurprisingly, the comedian's big-screen gamble fell far below even modest expectations. Vanilla Ice's Cool as Ice set a benchmark for regrettable cinematic ventures in 1991. With fans quickly forgetting his leap from lyricist to lead role, Ice stumbled through this formula-driven eyesore. Critics offered an icy reception with a mere 3% positivity. Hammered with nominations for Universal Mediocrity, Ice at least relished a hefty paycheck while delivering lines like "Drop the Zero." Fun fact, his paycheck devoured half the flick's budget, a poor consolation for such a cold reception. Pop Queen's film flop. Body of Evidence saw Madonna attempting a fine balance of seduction and sinister. The film banked on her superstar allure, but critics turned cold, leaving it with a pitiful Rotten Tomatoes score. Garnering awards for Worst Actress, Madonna's performance proved conceptually bankrupt. As David Denny acerbically observed, she was a lifeless bore. Despite cinemas filled with bare allure in the 90s, Body of Evidence remains among the era's most misguided misfires.